Hey, I am so excited that I get to start a new motorcycle build. A build that I've been really wanting to do ever since I finished my last one. And that last one was a 1983 Honda Goldwing that I converted over to a cafe racer. And if that sounds interesting to you, I've made some videos of that build and I put some links in the description below and you can check that out. So my dad calls me up and says, hey, I just went out and bought a new motorcycle and I've been trying to sell my old one online and nobody wants it. Would you be willing to just take it off my hands? And I asked him, okay, does it run? And he said, yep, it runs. I'm like, heck yeah, man, I'm not going to turn down a free motorcycle that runs. And so I went over and picked it up, and so now I am in possession of a 1980 Honda Goldwing that I am going to chop up and tear down and making it into something awesome. And this video is about where I'm at and how I got there and what my future plans are for this build. Let's go check it out. And there it is. 1980 Honda Goldwing. I have decided to make a hardtail bobber with a Springer seat. And it's coming along pretty good. So I'm not going to go for a no front fender. I learned my lesson on my last build that even though it might look super dope, you get some nasty rooster tails right in your face. And if I'm going to drive this thing at all to where it either just rained or it might rain, it's pretty awful to drive without a front fender. I plan to leave the covers off. Just to have the exposed belt and pulleys. It just looks really cool. So this is a Harley gas tank. I bought it from a local motorcycle parts dealer. It is a raw tank. It's technically brand new. It is designed to have a vented tank cap on this side and a non-vented on this side for the purpose of not leaking when the bike is laying on the kickstand. The reason I went with this tank is I like the wide teardrop look, especially with the engine sticking out as much as it does. The wider the tank, the better, in my opinion, for this look. The tank has mounting bolts up underneath, and I'll be making brackets under there to bolt it in place. So there'll be no exposed bolt here or up front for a nice clean look. Another challenging little thing about the bike was figuring out how to get this look right here and the fitment correct. So the tank is sitting on these frames, and if I slide it forward, it's sitting centered here. It's sitting on the neck up here, but then it also has an almost exact profile fit up here. We'll pull this off of here. Set this down. Alright, so I had to cut out a lot of metal here. There's a big frame that came up like this. If you guys aren't familiar with Goldwings, big frame like that, and then some cross bracing, and so I cut all that off. In order to cut that off, I ended up having to cut the brace out of the neck, so now I have to build this new neck. Still doesn't have brace up here, so I'll be building in a neck here. The downside to that is this tank has a really low neck hole, and so I'm probably going to end up having to cut a big notch out of this and then re-weld the tank, and that's going to suck. So as you probably can see, there is no room for an air cleaner now. So the next task, big money spend, is vertical pipes for the inlets and different carbs, so it's outside of the bike. So all the air cleaners all out here. One, it looks really cool, and two, you get some performance out of it, and I'm able to actually use an air cleaner, whereas this setup I would not be able to do that. One of the goals for this build is like a minimalistic look. I want nothing on this bike that doesn't have to be on this bike. And part of that was I didn't want any A-frame system that comes down to the swing arm. So I'm suspending the seat out It's in with a frame that's attached to the neck so that it just floats above the fender. There's just tons of open area here. This used to be a gas tank, if anyone's not familiar with Goldwing, so there'd be a big metal tank up underneath the seat. And you see the seat comes off, swings up, and there's a little A-frame I built. Pretty simple, nice low clearance, which looks awesome when you sit on it. Just drop it back down on those bolts that I welded on there. Been doing a lot of work about removing the bracketry that was attached to this arm and this arm. Trying to clean it up, trying to create room for the fender, and I'll probably end up putting a bracket across here just to hold the fender in place. Removing all the carburetors and pushing them out gives me room to put all the electronics hidden inside, so it really helps with the minimalistic look, having everything hidden up underneath the tank and behind the carbs. Another item that I removed slash modified was there was a bracket that ran from the brake caliper all the way back to the bracket that was back here, and that was to keep the brakes from rotating when you braked. So I ended up cutting all of that out, reforming it, so now I have this bracket here that attaches to the brake, and so it does, nothing sticks out, nothing hangs out in front of the tire. The rear fender I'll be using is from TC Bros. It's a flat profile fender, not for a trailer. And I was really worried with the flat profile it would not look good with the stock tire. But it sits on there nice and it looks pretty good, I think. Another thing I'm planning to do is replace the wheels. Now these are two-piece wheels. They are riveted together. And one, they just don't look good. Two, I've never been a fan of the structural integrity of bikes wheels like this, so I'm going to be getting some other wheels from another year that are solid mags. One, they look way cooler, and two, I feel safer with them. The funny thing about these handlebars, these are actually stock Goldwing handlebars that I actually have two sets of them now because of my other build, the Cafe Racer. And so I took one of them, heated it up, and bent the corners to try to get a feel for what the rake needed to be. And I got it just where I like it, but it is kind of funny because now they're all like blue and ugly looking. But it gets the job done, got me where I can start measuring them and get a good feel for it. One of the biggest challenges I'm facing right now is how to come up with some forward controls. A lot of builds you see on YouTube and online, I feel like they kind of fail in this area where there is no forward controls. Yeah, it's a bobber, it's a hardtail, you've got the seat in the right spot and you got the handlebars set up, but then the pegs are still way back here like this, and you're all crunched up and it just doesn't look right, it doesn't feel right when you ride it. So it is a challenge because the engine sticks out so far. So not really sure how I'm going to combat that, but I'm bound and determined to create something that I know feels right and looks right. It's just a matter of figuring out the engineering side of it. Another big challenge that I face is the inlet for this radiator. Now that inlet actually comes up right in the middle of that tank right there, and so I found a guy online that's run into this already, and what he had done was cut the pipe off here, cap it off, drill a hole in the opposite side of the radiator, and then weld it on. Downside to that is it ends up being like right there. I don't love that, but hopefully I can come up with a aha moment where I can figure something else out that doesn't look so obnoxious, I guess, sticking out there like that. As you can see, I got a long ways to go, but if you like the project, please subscribe to the channel and look me up on Instagram where I post a lot more frequently about the project, and hit me up. I love talking bike with people, talk about my projects or one of yours. All right, guys, wish me luck. See you later.